Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of MCC Briefing. This is our regular Tuesday show, airing from 11 to 1. So glad you've joined us and want to be a part of this show today. Today we've got a very interesting show I think you're going to enjoy. It's all about authenticity. And last week we encourage you to go back and get our previous episode that we have that was on truth and to check that out. I think you'll find that really interesting. Truth is an important topic in our lives, especially when we talk about our faith in Jesus Christ. So check that out. I think you'll enjoy that past episode. And today we're going on to talk about authenticity. It's very important to a lot of people in our world today. People are looking for authenticity, something real, something true, something solid that they can count on. And that's what our show is about today. So you can call in and be a part of this show by calling 587-741-3031, 587-741-3031. We welcome you to be a part of our show and to join in on the conversation. Now, if you check out past shows, you may find out that a lot of people haven't been calling in. In fact, we've gone whole shows with no one calling into the show. And that's all right. I don't mind. I know a lot of you are watching this at a later time, but there are several of you who are watching right now as well. And I understand what it's like. You've told me that being on the show is a lot like drinking from a fire hose. I'm giving you a lot of information so fast that you're still processing it. You don't even have time to call in and to think about it. But if you've had that kind of experience and you want to talk about things that we've raised in previous shows, or you caught the show later and now you want to call in and have questions about that, feel free to do that as well. 587-741-3031. This is what MCC Briefing is all about. We're trying to give you a Christian worldview to a modern culture and the world you're in today, so that you know how to respond, how to give an answer to those who ask you about your faith, or how to share it with others in relevant and meaningful ways. We want to encourage you to be able to do that. But we know we can overwhelm you at times. So give us a call at 587-741-3031 so we can be a part of that processing of everything that we give you. So check out past shows, encourage other people to watch it, encourage them to call in with questions they have about that. They don't have to be members of the church. They don't even need to be believers to react to what we're sharing. We would like to hear from everyone, because that's how we build community and understanding and cooperation in our society, is by a dialogue, talking together. And come, let us reason together about the things that are true and right, good and noble. That's what the Bible encourages us to dwell on. I think we all want that in our life. 587-741-3031. You call me, Pastor John, and we'll have a talk. You'll be immediately fed into our call-in studio, which you can be a part of. And call-in studio is an on-website that when you call into it at that number, you'll be automatically put in a queue. You can call from any phone, from anywhere, and be a part of our show. You can be on the road. You can be in Calgary. You can be shopping. You'll hear the show on the phone while you're calling. We just ask if you have a computer or something on that you're watching the show on, that you turn the volume down on that while you call in, and you'll hear us on your phone. And you'll notice there will be a lag between what you're seeing on your TV or computer and what you hear on your phone. And we don't want that interfering with the phone call, so just turn down your device when you call in. And you call in at 587-741-3031, 587-741-3031. So that's what you can do right now. Get ready to call in, and you can call in right away if you have comments and questions you have from previous shows. We do encourage you to check out, especially that last one was an excellent one. A lot of people have had to watch it more than once. It was all about what is truth and how do we find truth and what does it mean to us. Great topic. Today's topic is going to be just as relevant. We're going to be talking today about authenticity. Authenticity. What does it mean to be authentic? So this is an important concept because to be authentic is very important in our world today. A lot of people are looking for that, and especially a group that we refer to as millennials. So I'm in my late 60s. My children are known as millennials. So they were born prior to the last turn of the millennium. They're born in the 80s. And as they come into adulthood now in their 30s and so on, believe it or not, millennials represent the majority of the population. We baby boomers thought we were the majority for a long time, but there are less of us now than there used to be as we age. And the millennials have taken over. And the millennials are impacting every part of society, just like baby boomers did when they came through. That large population after World War II affected everything in society, from everything we bought to driving the markets. So now millennials are that same group today. They're affecting everything in the world today, in markets, and what is being purchased and what is not being purchased. And they're having a huge effect. And their response is very important. They are now the majority of the population, the largest one passing through. So we got to pay attention to what millennials are thinking, especially as they think about church. I'd like to show you a quick clip on the impact of millennials.
Young people have earned a reputation for taking down industries and institutions, from Applebee's to breakfast cereal. And although many of these critiques are exaggerated, the effect that young people have had on organized religion is indisputable. More than 4 in 10 young people are religiously unaffiliated today. It is the most common religious identity among young adults. And a new survey suggests that these religious changes may be permanent. And here's a couple of reasons why. First, young people today were raised in less religious homes. Growing up, they were less likely to attend religious services, say grace over dinner, or go to Sunday school. The young adults who've left their childhood religion are also leaving early, mostly during adolescence. In fact, 70% report having become religiously unaffiliated before they turned 18. So a 30-year-old who is unaffiliated today has likely been that way for over a decade. Finally, due to the rise of online dating and the sheer number of secular romantic partners, secular couples have now become more common, reinforcing secular identity and beliefs.
So in that quick little summary, you're hearing about the impact of millennials. They are changing industries and what people purchase and how the world is reacting. But most significantly, due to a Barna research, we discovered that millennials, my kids that are in their 30s now, late 20s and 30s, are not going back to church. A lot of them never even attended church, never even went to Sunday school, and they have sort of a what we call post-Christian culture, which is they heard about church, they've seen about church, and they have a story that they've created about church and church people that may or may not match reality of what they experience. But they're not going to church, not like the baby boomers did and were encouraged to do. More so in the United States, where attendance was higher. We've been in decline in Canada and churches' attendance since the 1960s as secularism has taken over. But even here in Canada, you'll find that amongst millennials, secularism is much stronger amongst that group than any other group. And that means living a life with no reference to religion or God. It's not that they're anti-God or anti-church. It's just they think it's irrelevant. It doesn't apply to their life. They don't see the relevancy of it. They look at churches and pastors and congregations and thinking that's a relic from a bygone age. It's not relevant to them anymore. So they're just like cereal. They're not buying. They're just not buying. They're not in the market for it. They don't see what's the point. So that's significant. That's a segment of the population that is not being reached with the gospel of Jesus Christ. We're going to dive into that deeper today and ask ourselves what's going on with them, and maybe not just them, but maybe their children that they're having and the generation just prior to them. what's going on with this influential group in society that is affecting our society in so many ways. To dive deeper into this, I want to go to a video. This is a chap who shares with churches and has a business to helping congregations and to become more relevant, to appeal to millennials and others through online ministry, and to bring us up to speed with what's going on in this world. So today's clip from him is all about millennials. Let's hear from him. And I did that again. Hang on. Here we go.
59% of millennials who grew up in the church have dropped out. But why? Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you 5 research-backed reasons for why millennials have stopped attending church. Well, hey there, I'm Brady Shearer from ProChurchTools.com, helping you seize the 167 hours beyond your Sunday service. We publish new videos like this one every single week, so hit the subscribe button below. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Also, millennials were the least likely age group to attend church, which is a problem because there are more millennials than anyone else. But why is this? Why do millennials feel this way? Well, let's look at 5 research-backed reasons. Reason number 1, to most millennials, church feels fake. Barna reported that 66% of millennials perceive American churchgoers to be hypocritical. Who would want to go to a place every week where you feel like all the people are two-faced? Church should feel like a place where everyone is welcome, but to most millennials, it just doesn't. And this leads into the next point. The second reason that millennials have stopped attending church is because of the exclusivity factor. To quote the book, Making Space for Millennials by Barna Research, substantial majorities of millennials who don't go to church say they see Christians as judgmental. 87%. That's our brand as Christians and churches, judgmental. Look, we all know that we're not going to agree on every issue, right? Whether it be homosexuality, women in leadership, gender identity, or AI, you will vehemently disagree with other Christians. But it's this majoring in the minors culture that's pushing millennials out of church. Our mission statements read, love God, love people, serve the world. But instead, the look on our faces say, you don't belong here. Reason number 3, the millennials have stopped attending church. Let's revisit that final stanza in that very common church mission statement I just quoted, serve the world. Churches can put the word community in their name, or they can pay lip service to widows and orphans in their mission statements, but millennials don't always see it playing out like that in practice. Compassion International partnered with Barna in a study that found 47% of young practicing Christians thought their church should be more involved in fighting extreme poverty. Moreover, 45% said they would give more to their church if it were more involved with poverty alleviation. Reason number 4, that millennials are attending church less frequently. In another Barna study, 52% of respondents perceived current-day Christianity to be aggressive and hypercritical. And this leads into a problem with the church that is many generations old, the church's propensity to condemn culture. Think about the things that I grew up with. Modest is hottest. I kissed dating goodbye. Burn the world services. Here's a good one. I used to buy CDs, open up the jackets where the members of the band would thank people that helped with the album, and read to make sure they were thanking Jesus or God, and if they didn't, I would get rid of the album. Instead of rejecting culture, though, at every turn, millennials want to be a part of redeeming culture. Finally, the 5th reason millennials are leaving the church, we want to talk through the big issues, the stuff that's controversial, the stuff that we're trying to work through. We don't want to shy away from it or, shove it under the rug, but instead, churches want us to toe the party line, right? When asked to select the image that felt like the most present-day Christianity, Barna found that the majority of respondents selected an image of a Bible with a person pointing their finger at someone. When millennials think about church, we don't think of a table open to anyone and everyone to talk about God and work out our faith. We see an imposing figure finger pointing us to fall in line. So to recap, the 5 research-backed reasons that millennials are leaving the church. Number 1, church feels fake. Number 2, the judgment. Number 3, a lack of care for the poor. Number 4, the condemnation of culture. And number 5, the inability to talk through controversial issues.
Well, there you got it. 5 things. Why millennials are no longer attending church. Over 50% of them, 50% are. That's good, but half empty, 50% are not. Church feels fake, feels judgmental, lack of care for the poor, condemning the culture, and talking about big issues is not allowed. So people are very concerned that we are not being able to reach that group because of these things. So what does it take? How do we reach these people? We want to be able to talk about that and explore that with you. That's one of the reasons we have this show, is so we can talk together about these things. We are addressing the millennial issue by having this show. This is your call-in where you can talk. You don't have to be a believer in Jesus Christ to be able to call into this show. You can just call in at 587-741-3031, 587-741-3031, and be a part of the show. I encourage you to do that. We're going to take a little break, and while you're doing that, hope you'll find your show, collect your thoughts, maybe even write them down so that you have that in front of you when you make the call at 587-741-3031. Give us a call today. So I hope you have written down any comments that you want to make or questions you have, and you're willing to give us a call. And you can do that anytime. Just call us at 587-741-3031. 587-741-3031. And I'm about to flood you with a lot more information as we build on that. So we found out that millennialism, that group that's are in their late 20s and 30s now, they're the ones that we need to encourage. But we're going to find out their issues, of course, our issues too. We're not unique to millennials. We are all asking a lot of the similar questions about how does church relate to everyday life? Well, one of the things we've heard from the last video that I shared with you is reasons why they're not coming. So what if that isn't, they're not looking for fake and judgmental in that, what are they looking for? So the big issue is it felt pretend and fake. What we need to grasp with that in millennialism and many others is the reality that they're looking for something real. The other key word there, I want you to note for the rest of this show, this is what the show is about, is authenticity. That is the key word for so many millions of people around the world today, is authenticity. Is it authentic? And that's what people are very concerned about today. How do you be authentic? Well, that's a good question. And I want to look at what typically the world talks about authentic. This article that I bring into you today is talking about 7 powerful strategies to being true to yourself. It's part of my stack of stuff here. And it shows you the typical worldly advice that we get. This is what the world thinks is authenticity. So the 7 powerful strategies, everything is 10 easy steps, 7 powerful strategies. That's how people market things today. How to be your authentic self. So it's learning how to be your authentic self is critical. They say a part of building a meaningful life, genuine relationships. Authenticity happens when your words and actions, behaviors consistently match your core identity. So now I want you to note that this is the other thing of it. Authenticity is identity. They're tied with one and the other. And that is a big issue amongst teenagers and adults. We've got a real crisis around authenticity because it also speaks to identity. Who are you? So note that. So many people struggling with expressing themselves openly, figuring out who they are, and knowing what they want out of life. It's not a new thing. I remember baby boomers back in the 1960s hitting the road and hitchhiking with a guitar, asking and looking for themselves. We still are. All these years later, people are still looking for themselves and being true to authenticity, which is the new catchword of today. So I wonder what the many powerful strategies that are being listed here. So what does the world say about this? What does it mean to be authentic? The quote from Brené Brown is, in order for connections to happen, we have to allow ourselves to be seen, really seen and understood. In other words, authenticity means having a clear, keen awareness of who you are. Identity and authenticity, a keen awareness of who you are, what you stand for, and expressing yourself honestly and consistently to the world. I want you to note those words like honestly, consistently, who you are, standing for who you are in the world so that other people can understand that. They go on to make further arguments about finding your authentic self in 7 strategies. The path to create the life you want starts with knowing with who you are and following these tips towards the authentic self. Always like these 7 things. So piece it together. That's a very important aspect of that. And I was reading this article is talking about how to do this. And they encourage you to take a personal inventory. They'll say in this article, what do you feel the most authentic? When do you feel that way? Asking yourself some direct questions can help you discover who you are and when you are not putting on a mask or betraying your core values. Again, note the word values. When you get clear on those values, you'll find it easier to make decisions in line with your authentic self. Which types of people, activities, or situations make you feel more alive? Are there people or parts of your life that make you feel unhappy, angry, or toxic? And this is the 2 points in the authentic inventory. Take it a step further, they say, in the situation that feels wrong to you, what really is going on? Write it down. Who are you with when it feels wrong? What emotions come up when it feels wrong? And what these experiences cost you emotionally or physically when things don't feel right. In that situation, when you're feeling where you feel authentic, when you say, oh, man, I'm being my real self and just being who I am, what's going on? Write down who are you with, what activities are you involved in, and the positive emotions or outcomes of these experiences with other people. From this activity, you may already get the sense of what you need to change. So they're telling us to, after that inventory, to piece it together, to prioritize the people or activities that you bring you joy and meaning. In other words, if you're around other people who don't allow you to feel good about being your authentic self, true to your core values, stay away from those people. Hang only around those people that allow you to feel comfortable with your core values. And then you can be your authentic self and not hide it away from other people. Now, this is what the world says. We're going to deal with this later on in terms of our Christian faith and what Christ says about that. But this is what the world says, and we're going to look at whether, is this good advice or not? The other thing that the world says is focus inward. Oh boy, here we go. After you start focusing inward, you need to ask yourself to be present. This is another catchword from our culture, is about being present. The ability to present present with yourself no matter what is going on around you is essential in authenticity. If you're always being distracted by your mental chatter in your head or reacting to external situations, you're not aware of your own state of being. So they're encouraging you to focus inward find yourself wondering how you appear, or whether you meet approval, or whether what you should do next, just focus inward, relax, and reflect on your values. Do what feels right to you. So be authentic by looking inside yourself. So they're arguing, which is the main point, and it's what the world always has to go to. They have no other option but to look to yourself, because you are the determiner of what is true, what is real, what is right, and what is valuable in this world. So they will encourage you to look inward. Authentic is an inward, self-absorbed journey, because who else can say who you are except you? And then it encourages you to develop a authentic social circle. Here's a quote from Barbara Angelis, and it says, "We need to find and encourage people to say no to things and people that are not serving us if we want to rediscover ourselves and live our lives with authenticity." So the common move in the culture, this is typical of the world, is saying, if you are hanging out with people in your social network who don't support who you see yourself to be, stop hanging out with them. And that's developing an authentic social circle. Sounds good, but we're developing cliques around what? Your self-perception. If you want to live an authentic life, they say you'll need to surround yourself with authentic people. Understand what they mean by that? They're saying other people are willing to support your self-perception. Doesn't ask whether you're being accurate or whether they're supporting a self-delusion, but someone and other people who will support your self-determined self-perception. That means intentionally giving your time and attention to people who not only are true to themselves, but support you in your journey. And that's the key point. Support you in your journey. How do you create that? Well, you find communities, groups, or people in your life who share your core values. Spend time with them and stand by them. Surround yourself with the people and encourage your big dreams. Rather than shoot them down, walk away from naysayers. Connect with a coach or a mentor who can help you navigate your path of self-discovery. Check in with your relationships from time to time and to continue to build that. Now, what it doesn't ask is, could someone be wrong in their self-assessment and of their core values? Could their core values be wrong? No. Why? Because in our culture, you as an individual have the final say about yourself. And therefore, no one can question those core values. In fact, they're encouraging you to only associate people who support your core values, even though your core values may be wrong. Because who could question that? That has taken the place of God in our lives. How does that impact the church? Well, that in fact says if the church does not share your core values, you should walk away from them. And over half of millennials are doing just that. And then we've got this next advice that comes up. It's called assertive communication. Means that you need to assert to other people your core values, to be aggressive in that, to speak your truth assertively. So you need to improve how you communicate. You can have a big impact on living your authentic life. What we want to say often gets lost in how we say it. According to Judith Glazer's research on conventional intelligence, 9 out of 10 conversations miss the mark. The other person fails to understand our intentions, resulting in miscommunication, conflicts, and confusion. Some people tend to be passive communicators and hold back sharing opinions. Others aggressively dominate conversations and fail to listen. With passive-aggressive communicators, sarcasm and dishonesty block the way to authentic exchange. So they're encouraging us to express our needs and honestly, with confidence, listen to other people when they speak, keep eye contact during conversation, and the ability to say no. So they'll say, this is what I need, This is what I believe. These are my core values, and I don't want to be argued out of them, and this is what I want. I hear what you're saying, but it doesn't change my position. So we're encouraging people to practice this assertive, not aggressive, not passive, but assertive communication. I like assertive communication. We can sit down and communicate with each other, but in that assertive communication, you may be talking with people who don't share in your core values and maybe even challenge them. And that's all right too, if they are people of equal worth to you. And there may be a value in someone challenging your core values. That might be very helpful in your life, rather than supporting what you perceive to be your core values and not challenging them. We could have a flawed understanding of who we are and of what we believe. There's daily planning. In your time and is dominated by other people's priorities, and of course, you will feel that you are not living your truth. Set aside time to decide your priorities from day to day, tasks, work, exercise, and getting enough sleep. In fact, this is why many millennials find it difficult working for corporations, because corporations may not share in the core values of that millennial. And since they're taking daily planning into it, they may decide, I can't work for this company anymore because they don't support my authentic self, and I feel worse about myself. So they take a daily action towards authenticity, and that might mean leaving their place of employment. And I've heard a lot of employers saying it's very difficult to keep many millennials in their position of work and to attract them because they feel like their core values are being questioned. So they're doing all kinds of things to try to do that. It's getting harder and harder to find people who will work and be a part of a community, because we don't really want to be a part of a community. We only want to associate with those that support who we are and what we think. It's a bit of what we call a narcissistic worldview. And then they encourage you to, in your planning, to every once in a while to step back and get and reflect about what's going on. This is take a step back to gain perspective. And when you find yourself in a rut, it makes sense to apply all your brain power to come up with a solution. So problem solve. But sometimes that approach gets you nowhere and just leads to a cycle of overthinking. So step back and reflect. Don't get hyper-focused on a problem. You can lose sight of who you are. So it's more important, rather than solving a problem, is be true to yourself. Sometimes you need to step back to see the bigger picture, removing yourself from the situation altogether. The guiding light is self-identity and who you are, being true to your core values rather than problem solving. You might need to take time off, a day or a week, go to your employer or talk to your significant others and say, you know what, we need time apart, I need time to think, and do something fun. Taking a help breaks to listen to your heart and your gut, and the answers will flow naturally. The answers will flow naturally when you relax, listen to your heart and your gut. This isn't reason. This isn't logic. This isn't problem solving. This is inward journey, being true to yourself, your core values, having people around you who support that self-notion. Problem is, what if you're delusional? What if you're just wrong? How does that help you in problem solving? Then they say recognize internal versus external influences in your life, internal and external. Now, from everything we shared with you, which do you think they encourage? Internal motivations or external motivations? Well, internal motivators are those that drives and desires that come from deep within, talking about your heart dreams that you push you to become a better person and pursue your goals. Do you listen to those? Or do you listen to your external motivators, referred to decisions you make based on external factors like money, status, recognition, expectations of other people? Now, past generations, the parents of millennials, were deeply affected by money, status, recognition, and expectations of other people. We called them yuppies, young, upwardly mobile people. And as they were, those factors, money, status, recognition, and expectations of other people was a big deal. And generations prior to them. But now, we are encouraging millennials to listen to the internal motivators. Do they help you reach your goal? Do they make you happy? Your heart dreams, are they achieved? So we've got to ask ourselves, what is our goals? What are we after? What does it mean to be authentic? And is there some truth to that about these motivators? Do I feel pressured by other people into taking a step? And if so, by whom? What do I want to accomplish with this goal? Am I willing to fight through difficult obstacles to make this happen? If this is truly what I want, listen to your gut. And when you tap into your intuition, you may already know the answer deep down. I would suggest to you there are some serious issues. If what you're listening to is your internal gut, your emotions, and your instinct as a guiding principle, you might feel like you're being more authentic, but you'll end up maybe in a harmful place for you and others, and probably not just many. I mean, maybe. In reality, you almost always will. If you're a millennial following this kind of advice that the world gives, you may want to ask yourself, am I really getting the results that I'm seeking? Is it price of authenticity worth what I'm seeking in my life? Here's a quote that we have about an authentic life. This is coming from Neil Pasricha, who's the author of You Are Awesome. What a book. Anybody would buy that. It says on the title, You Are Awesome. Why wouldn't you buy that? So living an authentic life, here it goes. She says, when you're authentic, you end up following your heart. And you put yourself in places and situations and in conversations that you love and that you enjoy. You meet people that you like talking to. You go to places that you dreamt about. And you end up following your heart and feeling verified in the process. This is what the world says you should do. You should live an authentic life. And you should find those people. It's quoted in a study, that 2008 study published in the Journal of Counseling of Psychology found that people who are more authentic feel happier and have higher self-esteem. In a 1997 study, the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology discovered that showing up authentically brings greater satisfaction and lower stress levels in a particular role as a friend, employee, or student. In 2006, research found that the Journal of Counseling of Psychology shows that authenticity increases satisfaction and romantic relationships. Now, in a moment, we're going to challenge some of those ideas and what they are, and also include psychological studies that might challenge that. But here is this huge belief that authenticity is the secret to a happy life. I got to tell you that for generations, people have been seeking what it means to be authentic and to find happiness in their life. And right now, the latest golden grail, holy grail of everything is authenticity. But hey, people have been seeking happiness. It's built into the Constitution of the United States that every person has the right to seek and pursue happiness. But how do we find it? The millennials are not the first generation in the search of that. If you are a millennial and you're searching for authenticity, I think you might find it difficult to find that happiness. And they encourage you to find it in balance as well. Find a balance between staying true to yourself, and here's the trick, and behaving in a way that respects the social situation in any given context. And that is the kicker. How do I be true to myself and also fit into social situations so as not to offend or exclude, even though I may choose to exclude those people if they are not allowing me to be my authentic self. These are the challenges of the authentic world. What do you think? What do you think about the advice, the typical article that I just read about being authentic? Give me a call at 587-741-3031. If I'm not feeding this too fast to you already, give me a call, 587-741-3031. When you give me a call on the phone, it comes up on my device here, and I'll feed you right into our show. And you can slow the roll on Pastor John. But I'm hoping you're finding this topic interesting, that I've engaged you, and you now want to know much more about what is being said, and how authenticity has become one of the most guiding lights for a lot of young people today, and how they live their lives and how they understand it. And it's not just millennials, it's also many other people and how they experience that in their life. So as we look at that, we want to explore a Christian worldview in response. I always like to give the world the first voice. So I find articles that represent their position, as the one I just read, and I want to look at it, I want to understand it, I want to know where they're coming from, and that's important. Anytime you enter into a dialogue, you need to hear the other person, understand their position, and what they believe. So 587-741-3031. If you hold and you think that article was great and that's what you believe, I'd love to hear from you as well. 587-741-3031. And you can defend that, and we'd love to hear why you believe in that. But we also want to challenge our worldview perspectives and bring in a Christian worldview as the alternative to that belief system. So, Relevant magazine is a Christian magazine, and they want to encourage Christians to be relevant to our world. You can find them online as well and watch them there and read their articles as well. I came across this is an interesting article that was brought up. It's called "Being Authentic is More Than Just Being Honest." Give me a call at 587-741-3031, 587-741-3031. So being authentic, more than just being honest. Well, that's an interesting argument. Of all the things that the millennial generation wants out of church, authenticity may be the most important thing. So now I'm bringing in what the psychology article said, and now relating to the church. What they want from us is not to be fake. What do they want? They want us to be authentic. As a 20-something pastor, the article is written here by Stephen McLean. He says, "Our very creative, diverse, and subversive neighborhood in LA, I need for authenticity in the hearts of my neighbors. I see that, as well as in my own heart. I need authenticity. It's a battle cry of our generation, often expressed in publicly with ironic clothing and accessories, or more private within the heart-to-heart conversations over coffee and other things we love. We want to be authentic, and that may mean being unique." I think that the cry for authenticity, he goes on to say, is very important. It stems out of the reality that we're in a generation that's let down by previous ones. I got to ask you, what generation didn't feel that way? And just about every new generation that comes along says, the previous generation before us let us down. So millennials are saying it's the baby boomers. So past ideals don't work for us, they say, what the baby boomers believed. We're fed up with wearing masks and hiding the truth about ourselves in an effort to blend in, because it stars our hearts and leaves us empty. We crave a place and a people we can be our true selves with and be truly loved. We're crawling out of the bushes and searching for more. We're calling out to others to do the same and create a new standard for our relationships. Wow. However, the question for meaning isn't without its challenges. Authenticity itself is hard to define. Because of that, it's even harder to find it in the churches. Now, there's the love. That last sentence there you see is the authenticity itself is hard to define. And that's where we're going to go with the rest of the show, is trying to define what is authenticity. What is it these millennials and many others, millions and millions of people are looking for and finding it hard to discover in themselves and in other people and in organizations and churches and in the faith in Jesus Christ. How do you get there? Well, blaming the previous generation, I'm going to suggest to you, isn't the solution. They're not perfect. No generation was. But guess what? You're not either. If you're out there looking for your authentic self, you're just as much as a trap. And if you have children, the generation that follows you and their children are going to look at you and blame you for stuff. We've been doing this for millennium. Thousands of years this has been going on. This is nothing new. And we're going to say, well, I was just being true to myself. I was being authentic. Well, that is a real challenge. So what does this pastor do in order to answer the challenge of authenticity? Well, he asks, what is authenticity? A lot of things can be mistaken for authenticity. Relativism, whatever seems right to me has to be okay with everyone else, could be mistaken for it. Social elitism, which is only people with a dark past and tattoos belong to the authentic people. And dedication to causes, like Meet My Cat, he's a rescue cat, are just a few examples of what most people think authenticity is. However, I think when we search the scriptures for a definition, we discover that authenticity is much more than all that. One passage that sums it up well is Ephesians 4:22-24, in which believers are called to put off their old self, which belongs to your former manner of life and is corrupt through deceitful desires, and to be renewed in your spirit of your minds, and to put on your new self, created after the likeness of God in true righteousness and holiness. Now, the pastor quotes that passage, but I'm going to tell you, that's like a foreign language if you're truly involved in the millennial culture and immersed in self-authenticity, self-affirmation, and isolating people who don't affirm who you are. You want to be unique and true to yourself. That passage from Ephesians 4:22-24 is for like, I don't think you can get your head around that. There are some core ideas that break that down and make it almost impossible to understand. Pastor goes on and says ways that you can do that is to be vulnerable. Deny yourself daily. I think about people who are really committed to authenticity, and denying yourself daily, which is a very Christian expression, is almost antithetical. It's like, what do you mean denying yourself? Here he suggests, well, be a storyteller. Among believers, confess your origins as well as the ways you're still broken. Try to articulate how you're not yet whole in both your beliefs and your rhythms of life. And all of us need redemption and renewal in all of our lives. So we must be intentional, communicating that every day, right now, need to others regularly. And how do you need Jesus yesterday? How do you need him today? And how do you need him tomorrow? Tell your story to God, yourself, and to others. Now, that's predicated on a presumption that you think you need someone. But we saw that in the previous article, that in Psychology Today and other places, they're encouraging people to say, you only need people who will reinforce your self-worth, your self-identity, so you can be authentic to yourself. You don't need people questioning that and this, being vulnerable in this way, saying I'm not enough. And that is, they would argue, going against your authenticity. So that Psychology Today would say avoid a group that does that. And praise attention, take up your cross daily. And that means you might not have achieved your goal and you're not there yet, but it's presuming that people have accepted the premise of the Christian faith, and they have not. So even the relevant argument of the Relevant magazine is not relevant enough. It doesn't quite tackle what it's all about. And they're not even ready for step 3, which is recover God's story in your life and follow Jesus daily, because people aren't following Jesus. They're following themselves. their instincts, what feels natural. They get alone with their thoughts and say, what is my instinctual, emotional response to be true to myself? What makes me feel good? They're not following Jesus, and they're not interested in following someone else's imposed identity upon them. So we're having trouble with this whole issue. There's even an article from Scientific America today that people are really feeling authentic, not when they follow themselves. Everyone wants to be authentic, it says in this article. This is back in 7/10 of 2021. It's a fairly recent article. And it's entitled by Scientific America, The Inconvenient Truth About Your Authentic Selves. Everyone wants to be authentic, it says. You want to be true to yourself, not slavish followers of a social experience. And that challenge in our life is really important. So you want to live your best life, pursuing your particular desires rather than falling in line with what everyone else thinks happiness requires. Studies have even shown that feeling of authenticity can go hand in hand with numerous psychological and social benefits like higher self-esteem, greater well-being, better romantic relationships, and enhanced work performance. But authenticity, they'll say, is a slippery thing. Almost most people would define authenticity as acting in accordance with your idiosyncratic values and qualities. Research has shown that people feel most authentic when they conform to a particular set of socially approved qualities, such as being extroverted, emotionally stable, conscientious, intellectual, and agreeable. Now, that is startling because we want to find out when people are feeling authentic. When do they really feel authentic? And they've done extensive research, Scientific America, and find out people are authentic not when they're unique, but when they conform. They feel authentic when they conform. To what? To being socially agreeable and belonging to a group, feel like they're belonging and they're in on it and that people like them and affirm them in return. Then they start feeling authentic. In fact, a lot of people who want to feel authentic have to conform to the social group that they want to be a part of. If you want to be accepted by a group that wears a lot of tattoos, you better start wearing a lot of tattoos. If they are feeling more free and tolerable and you want to belong to the gay community, then you have to show all the stuff that's in agreement with the gay community, or you'll be rejected. There are people in the Republican Party who say, hey, I'm Republican and I'm gay. But when other gays say, how can you be gay and be Republican? You need to be Democrat. And to be Republican, even though they're gay, would be rejected by that community and say, oh, I can't even talk to you. You're challenging my self-worth and my beliefs and so on. I'm excluding you from our community. And many have experienced that. African Americans who are Republicans are being rejected by their communities because they're Republican, even though they're African American and they hold the same values and beliefs and concerns as their community, but because they don't toe the line, they don't belong to that community and they're being rejected. And so they can't be their authentic self. Their qualities don't match the group. So a lot of people are saying, I don't feel authentic until I'm accepted by that community. And in order to be accepted by that community, I have to show the traits and the qualities that they find acceptable. That's Scientific America saying that there is this weird dichotomy that to be true to your authentic self may mean giving up some of your core values, or at least hiding it and not letting people know what you really think. If you're a millennial, I bet you've experienced that in your life. You've had that experience. 587-741-3031. We'd love to hear from you. Is that ever been your experience? 587-741-3031. That you need to hide who you really are uniquely, because people really don't want your authenticity in terms of uniqueness. They want you to conform in order to belong. And that is across the board in many lives, in many places. They're looking for conformity in your life. So now we're dealing with this whole issue of what does it mean to belong and to be authentic. What is it really about? If I've confused you at this point, that's all right, because a lot of people are confused about what it means to belong, to be authentic, to be true to yourself and to your core values of what they are, and still be accepted by society. It seems like we often have to choose between the two, and when we have to choose, we usually choose to belong, that people would affirm us and feel good about us. So now I want to turn a corner, and I want to dive deeper into this. We're an hour into the show. If you want to give me a call, you can still do that. 587-741-3031. Slow down Pastor John's roll. Give me a call. Ask a question. 587-741-3031. Make a comment. We would love to hear from you. And what we're about to do is turn a corner and look at what it means to be authentic. And as we turn this corner, I just want to share announcements from MCC and encourage you to give us a call as we do that. So we're about to take a little break. We've been at this intensely for about an hour now, and you can take a break, collect your thoughts, write down some notes, maybe questions that you have that you want to be a part of the show, and to give us a call and to be a part of the questions that are raising and the issues that this raised for you. Before we turn the corner, start applying a Christian worldview to this very important question about authenticity. Give me a call, and I'd love to hear from you. Call now at 587-741-3031. Give us a call anytime. We're right here to hear from you.
Welcome to Millerville Community Church.
Put on the full armor of God so that you will be able to stand firm against the schemes of the devil. Spiritual Strategies is a monthly workshop preparing us with strategies of spiritual warfare.
Join the conversation. The MCC Briefing Podcast airs live every Tuesday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Call in and chat with Pastor John on various topics with a biblical view. Get into a summer Bible study. Romans 6-8, Freed from Sin's Power, begins July 14th. Running Wednesday evenings online. Registration is on our website and at Precept Ministries Canada. The men's breakfast is coming back July 17th. Men's breakfast will take place at MCC on the third Saturday of each month. This ministry needs volunteers. Please contact Pastor John if you are interested. Wildwood Forest is this summer's VBS. Register kids for the 3-day vacation Bible study on our website for them to discover the untamed nature of God. August 16th to 18th for ages 6 to 12. We are so glad you are here to join us this Sunday. Let us now pray and worship in His name together.
Hey, Pastor John here, and we're back. We hope you had a good little break there, saw our announcements, and encourage you to share this show with other people so that they can be aware of what's going on at Millerville Community Church. It's a wonderful, relevant, powerful little church, and we communicate the gospel as clearly as we can. You can check us out online on YouTube. We live stream our services, and they are recorded on YouTube. You can go back and check them. Past shows of MCC Briefing. We are just outside of Calgary, Alberta, not more than 20 minutes away. There is a brand new Stony Road being completed, and you can take 22X out from Calgary and get here in no time. We're also have a lot of people who come from Okotoks. They're coming from Black Diamond, Turner Valley, Longview, Bragg Creek, Cochrane, all over the place, driving into this country-style church. We're out on the prairie. Well, the prairie, we're out on rangeland. We literally have horses and cattle all around us. Beautiful, set in the high country of the foothills of Alberta, Canada, near a large city and surrounded by the beauty of the countryside. You can join us. You are invited. There is no more COVID-19 restrictions, no masks, no social distancing. You might see a lot of that going on in the city, but we are much more relaxed out here in the country. Come and join us. Come on out and join us. Be a part of the growing fellowship that we have there. Now, I want to explore, continue with this topic of authenticity that we have started. And I want to begin to illustrate to you what authenticity is and how we can achieve that and how we can do that from a Christian worldview. You ready for that? You want to know what that is? I bet you do. So we've raised a lot of issues. Now I want to go into some answers. And you might think, well, this is an unlikely place that I'm about to go to get an answer. I want to go to a show that you might be very familiar with. It's called America's Has Talent. And you get to watch a segment. I'm going to show this to you just for illustrative purposes from that show. AGM, America's Got Talent, AGT, is all about finding raw talent out there and showing them off to the world. And what walked out onto this stage in this one next clip, you may have already seen. But now I want you to watch for the word authenticity. Watch for the word authenticity. And we're going to use this as illustrating a very valid point. Here we go. Oh, this isn't it. Here we go. Find right episode. This is the Now, I'd suggest to you, if you looked up the word authenticity in the Bible, you would find this gal's picture. It was authentic. That's what people were moved by, was the authenticity of the person called Nightbird, who is a very real person, and we're going to dive into this a little more. But I want you to feel the emotion of that and to see the impact that authenticity has, both in communicating value and meaning, to communicate truth to other people. And this is what impacted millions of people that are part of AGT. The golden buzzer, if you aren't familiar with AGT, is each judge, as they see talent come on the show, is given one chance to hit the golden buzzer. And the golden buzzer means that there's no more other runoffs. You go immediately to the finals. And Cal is one of the toughest judges. And when he hit the golden buzzer, he said, I choose you. This is my only opportunity doing it, and I'm sending you right to the finals. So an affirmation of who she was, and of her authenticity, and the strength of her voice, and so on. He really believed in her. So what is it about Nightbird that makes her so authentic and so real? This is where we're going to dig down further and learn more about this person. Who is she? Here's another section.
Diagnosed with cancer in 2017 with breast cancer. It's incurable. That it will ebb and flow, go, get worse and get better throughout your life, perhaps, but at the end of the day, you'll die from it.
This is just a little cancer update.
Soon after I got that 3 to 6 month diagnosis, my husband let me know that he no longer wanted to be married. I moved to California in the summertime. You can lie to yourself and say that you're fine. You can like go down those dark roads and stay there because it's so tragic. Or you can go down those dark roads and come back. And the third is the hardest, but it's never without reward. Hello. Felt so poetic that these birds were singing as if it was morning, but there were no signs of it yet. And that's what I wanted to embody. Well, it's okay is something that I have been saying out loud to myself through the whole situation. It's you I like, not the clothes you wear. If something so impossibly catastrophic and unimaginably awful can happen, then doesn't it also mean that something impossibly beautiful and impossibly redemptive, if you listen for it and look for it, then you'll see Jesus all over it. You'll find it there, but I'm not just writing music for people that believe the way that I believe. I think that's ridiculous. Yeah, I'm not worried about it. I'm ready to die whenever it's time for me to die.
That mindset.
This is my 7 dots. There is a verse in the Bible that says, "The righteous person falls 7 times and gets back up again."
Are you bitter?
No, and that's the miracle part. My life is a miracle. I shouldn't be breathing, you know. The note that I've been given to sing in this orchestra of life is short and insignificant, truly. But I want to sing it well. I got one note. I'm going to sing it well. If you're lost, we're all a little lost, and it's all right.
So, in that little clips that we got from the Maple House recordings, part of America's Got Talent interview of her later on, we find out as we dig down further, there's the gospel of Jesus Christ there. She believes in Jesus. She gets through this by the strength of God. And this is one of the important things. She is definitely labeled as authentic. But what does that mean? Why is she authentic and other people aren't authentic? Why is she so remarkable? And as we dig down further, we find a faith in Jesus Christ. Now, I want you to note right off the bat, she says, if you're looking for it, it's everywhere. So you'll find Jesus in my songs and who I am and what I'm about. But not everyone believes as I believe, so she doesn't start off with putting Jesus Christ first. She says, here I am. This is who I am. This is the stuff I'm going through. It's not pretty. It's not always wonderful. And in her song, she says, I've lied to myself. I've been telling myself false things, and a lot of people who are trying to be authentic are actually lying to themselves. It's not so much about what you tell yourself, but facing reality. Who am I really? What is this all about? Why am I going through this? Asking those tough questions, and that might even be questioning your self-perception. And what you thought was authentic is no longer authentic. I would suggest to you there's nothing like pain and suffering to bring you to your authentic self and facing the reality of who you are and letting go of some of the false notions, the things that are not real or not true and are not right. And in that we find, as we dig down with Nightbird, we find out that she found out it isn't being true to herself, but true to truth. Not being real with her inner qualities, but facing reality itself, whether it agrees with what she thought about herself or not, because we have a tendency to lie to ourselves. We're finding out there is a faith behind this authentic person, and I would suggest to you is the source of her authenticity that people are encountering and are moved by.
Speak to that for people that need a voice.
Wow. And how are you doing that? How are you speaking for those people? Obviously through your music, but I mean, what are the words, and how do you connect with them?
Yeah, well, I think kind of like something that I carried with me was like the importance of teaching your heart to hope. And from the very beginning when I got this bad news, I just kept hearing in my brain, like, teach your heart to hope and your body will follow. Teach your heart to hope and your body will follow. And that's the message that I want people to understand, is like, even if your heart is not hopeful, like, you can learn. Like, anything can be learned. And if it's not natural for you to be optimistic or hopeful or to have faith, like, it's a skill that you can learn. It's not like you're not just done for. And so I do get to speak to people about cancer all the time, and I'm honored to have that place. But truly, I think everybody encounters impossible circumstances where really there's like no reason to hope, and like all the proof would point to the fact that all good things are over. And so instead of like positioning myself as some type of like cancer hero or something like that, I just want to be like a symbol of like hope and determination and courage, because everybody needs a little extra of that sometimes.
So there she is, just sharing in a natural way to encourage people, to build them up, to give them hope, to have something beyond themselves. They can't find it in themselves. And in a very gentle way, in a very humble way, she's advancing the gospel of Jesus Christ. We're going to find out why that is, because people who dig down further and check out her websites and her poetry will find God right there in the midst of that. She is relaying great truths in very simple ways, without presumption, being real, being true, facing the terrible things in life, but doing it with a faith and a hope that's greater than self, that bringing her through. And just like in any Alcoholics Anonymous, she has discovered that we need a power greater than ourselves. As we get real with ourselves, we get honest, we do a fearless moral inventory, and we find out we need to change some things when we're really honest with ourselves. And that we need to move towards recovery. And anyone, she says in that last clip, can learn that. You can learn that. You can learn to have hope. You can learn to be more hopeful. You can find faith. You can find all these things. They can be learned no matter who you are. They can be discovered. If you ask, seek, and knock, you will find these things. In this next song that we're going to hear her sing, listen for those, that authentic voice and encouragement to look beyond yourself. Not inward, like Psychology Today will tell you to do, but outward.
brave.
Now, in that song, the artist there is expressing what we call an open door. She's encouraging people, exhorting people to discover something beyond themselves. So they need to find that. People need to find that in their lives all the time. How do I move from where I am? She's actually made a connection. So I'm on your side. And a lot of the things she expresses is, I'll always be there. I'll be for you. I'll tell you the truth when other people will lie to you. And God loves you. In the fact of the chorus part, she refers to symbols of nature and so on, and the mountain inside. She's referring to God in that. That's where she's coming from. Well, you might wonder, well, she doesn't specifically say God or Jesus Christ, but that's because she's appealing to people who don't know God, who are lost in their own lostness. And if you're lost, it's okay. But she's trying to break through that door that many of us haven't been able to, and she can connect with her authenticity that is found in God. Now, how can I say that? She's being authentic in Jesus Christ and God, even though she doesn't specifically mention it all the time. Well, here's another article. It's called Nightbird. How can it be okay when you are suffering from cancer? And she's had a 2% chance of survival. And she said, hey, but 2% is nothing. It's not nothing. It's something. And if that can happen, then good things can happen as well. So how can it be okay? Well, that's what this article is about. Let's take a look at this and see what it says. Singing in the darkness. Why is this unlikely voice the one we need to hear right now, as they said as she came off the stage? In her words, Nightbird gives the answer, I am so much more than the bad things that happened to me. What is her hope, despite her circumstances? How can she declare it's okay when it's clearly not okay? America is captivated because hope and joy are not natural responses when life falls apart. Get that. That is not natural. So where does Nightbird's hope originated from? From a mysterious place that an NBC talent show is unlikely to explore. It comes from God. In an interview, Nightbird said, quote unquote, I believe that God can heal in one instant. I also believe that no good thing does he withhold. So there was something God was growing in the field that is me. And if God pulled up all of this hardship too soon, it would have also pulled up all the miracles he did in my spirit. Now, that is clear as you get. Now, I want you to understand that in mass media, when what you get isn't always what the person presents. They're making it acceptable to a very large audience that does not agree with their assumptions about God. But anyone who wants to dig further down with Nightbird and discover what she believes will find this great truth buried beneath. It says in the scriptures that when you find a pearl of great price, that you'd sell everything you have, buy the field, and dig down and take that pearl. And there it is, that pearl of great price, a faith in God. As she wrote in the May 3rd blog of this year, she said, maybe we missed it. What God showed us when he first introduced himself, that that he will crawl into the dirt to be near us. And he will fill our lungs with air when we don't know how to breathe. You can find God in the moments of your crisis. That's being real. That's being authentic. And to find the reality of God in our pain and our struggles. Even in her stage name communicates the hope. Nightbird, you might wonder, well, where did that come from? Well, she chose it because she dreamed about birds singing in darkness for 3 straight nights. And I want to be that way, she says. Even when I'm in the middle of a dark time and there's no signs that it will end, she said, I want to be the bird that sings in anticipation of good things that I trust are coming. And that comes from her faith in the Lord Jesus Christ and the experience of God in her life in terrible moments of her life. That, my friend, is getting closer to what authenticity is, because it deals with truth and reality. She goes on in this article, they're talking about no sugarcoating suffering. And here's the key. A lot of people in our world are suffering. And if you follow the pop psychology that we looked at earlier about the power of positive thinking and only associating with people that will affirm what you already believe, you will end up sugarcoating suffering and not dealing with reality. It is far better to face reality, the uncomfortable truth. I'll not lie to you. The uncomfortable truth and reality of your situation. And if it's terrible, then say it's terrible. If it's bad, then face that it's bad. And in that moment, you may find the authentic relationship with God. This Nightbird does not sugarcoat her suffering. In one blog post entitled, "God is on the Bathroom Floor," she poetically details how she wrestled with God through this trial. She says, quote unquote, "I remind myself that I'm praying to God who let the Israelites stay lost for decades. They begged to arrive in the promised land, but instead he let them wander, answering prayers they didn't pray. For 40 years, their shoes didn't wear out. Fire lit their path each night, and every morning he sent them mercy bread from heaven. I looked hard for the answers to the prayers that I didn't pray." In another post she wrote, "When it comes to pain, God isn't often in the business of taking it away. Instead, he adds to it. He is more of a giver than a taker. He doesn't take away my darkness. He adds light to my darkness. He doesn't spare me of thirst. He brings water. He doesn't cure my loneliness. He comes near. So why do we believe that when we are in pain, it must mean that God is far?" Wow, there is some real depth to her understanding that pain and suffering brought to her. I have found this true throughout my whole life. The hard times, pain is a great teacher and a corrector of our understanding of who we are and of who God is. Great authors like C.S. Lewis said this again and again, that pain, which he knew well, would find that. She found that it is God on the bathroom floor. When you're not feeling well, you're throwing up from chemo cancer, that's where God was. I've found God on the bathroom floor too. For very hard suffering in my life and very hard moments in my life, God was there. It made me face the reality of my situation, who I am, and how I react, as well as dealing with reality that God could meet me at that moment and add something to my terrible moment. In her pain, Nightbird has hope. Why? How could she be okay? How can she have hope, which is a very real thing? Because that's where God is nearest. She says this, "I'm still reeling, drenched in sorrow. I'm still begging, bargaining, demanding, disappearing." And I guess that means I have all the more reason to say thank you, because God is drawing near to me again and again and again. No matter how many times he is sent away and turned away from God, God keeps drawing near. He's doing the same with you. In your pain and your suffering, he wants to meet you there. He wants to show you things and give you things that we all need desperately in our life. This is true. This is real. This is the core of the authenticity that seems to shine through, that we wonder how she can be okay in every situation in her life. And you can have that as well in your life and live an authentic life. Humanity's bathroom floor. Is there a more humble place for God to draw near to us? Well, yes, there is. It's on the cross. God the Son took on flesh and entered into the sin-ravaged, cancer-stricken world to deliver us from it. Jesus went willingly to the cross and experienced the suffering of our sins that we deserve in order to give us all the merit with all that he merited with his perfect life, yet might call the cross humanity's bathroom floor. God meets us there. This is the hope Nightbird communicates to the world. It is a hope that the world, though captivated, is unable to contain by itself. It is the hope of the gospel that allows us not just to endure, but to rejoice in the midst of suffering. Now that is real. America is fascinated with Nightbird. The article goes on to say, not simply because of her story is compelling, but because she seemed to possess something elusive that we all want. Or rather, someone. The God who knows our pain meets us in our pain and redeems our pain. With this God, we too can have hope that allows us to sing along with the Nightbird. And the unlikeliest of refrains in a world of sickness and death is, it's okay. It's okay. With the Lord, all things work to good for those who love the Lord, who have discovered who the Lord is. And it can be okay. Isn't that a powerful lesson that we can learn along the way and apply to our own life and discover in who we are? In closing, along with this show, if you want to give me a call, you can do that, 587-741-3031, 587-741-3031. We're reaching the last 20 minutes of our show. If you want to give us a call and react to what we're presenting here, to discover that one of the people that is considered one of the most authentic people in the world right now is a believer, despite all the stuff she's going through and all the suffering. Are you going through suffering? Are you going through pain in your life? Maybe you too need to discover the truth of Jesus Christ. And just like Nightbird, maybe every day we need to discover what that is. And we can do that together. We can be real, we can be honest, and face the reality of our situation, not pretend it's better, not someone to prop up our artificial understanding of what it is, but face it, bold on, see for what it is, and recognize God's there already. God is already sustaining you, keeping you, and meeting you in that pain. And he has more. Not to take it away, but help you survive it, overcome it, and learn from it. And something new to be born in your spirit. How do we do this? Well, here's my wrap-up. Several things I want to point out to you. Is number one, authenticity, that big word that we've looked at, is not the same as being different or unique. Being your real self can be ugly, and it can be not accepted by others. There are a lot of people who want to be true to their real selves to find out who they really are is not a good thing. It's not a good person. It's not a people anyone likes. That your children might be rejecting you because you're being your real self, and they don't like it. Your spouse might be rejecting you because you're being your real self, and they don't like it. Your friends and the people you want to connect with and have a significant relationship may be rejecting you because you're being your real self, and they don't like it. Maybe your real self isn't good. There might be things that are good about it and things that are not good about it. We're often a mixed bag. And when we're rejected, we don't feel authentic because we think that we're being our unique selves. But being unique doesn't mean you're being authentic. That's my main point. Being unique doesn't mean you're authentic. So if that's not authentic, what is being authentic? Well, authenticity is about what is real, what is true, what is right. What is authentic is about what is real, the original, not the copy, not the ripoff, but the actual thing itself, the real thing, the true thing, the right thing, not the twisted or knockoff. But this cannot be about you. It has to be about what is true, what is real, what is right. And that goes beyond you defining what that is. It's got to be beyond you that you find the real, true, and right thing, because life is bigger than you. And pain will show that to you. And if you pursue your own reality, even if it's delusional, you will experience pain and suffering in your life, and you will bring it into other people's lives. And when you get to those dark and desperate moments, I hope that you'll remember this. This isn't about you seeking your own happiness, but seeking what is true and right, what is reality, and finding God is waiting for you in that place. He's willing to meet you because he is what is real and what is true and is right. The question then with authenticity really is an identity question. Who are you? Who are you really? If it really comes down to that, we lie to ourselves all the time. We aren't who we think we are. We are deceivers of ourselves. We think we are something. We present ourselves as something only to find out that's not who we really are. We are putting on a persona we think other people want us to be. Even when we try to be original, we're not being original. When we try to be authentic, we're not being authentic. We're trying to get other people to accept us and to receive us. Who are we really? And if you really dig down with that question, you may find an uncomfortable truth that who you really are is not who you really want to be. And that's a tough one. So authenticity about what is real, what is true, and what is right. And we find that often we are not being true and right, but pain and suffering often brings us to that reality. Actually, authenticity is found in what is actually true and real and right. And this can only be found is someone greater than ourselves or our flawed humanity, and that is in Jesus Christ. We need to find someone greater than ourselves that will tell us the truth of who we are. You won't find it in other people. You only find it when God encounters you and talks to you about the truth of who you really are. Jesus Christ said, I am the truth. It isn't you and your perception. It isn't your friends. It isn't society and movements. Truth is a person, and that truth is Jesus Christ. He said, I am the truth. And he said more than that. He said, I am the way. I am the way out of the terrible place you have found yourself. Follow me. I'll show you the way out of that. And he also said, I am the life, that you can live an authentic, real, powerful life, that he can give you life in the midst of death. He can give you hope in the midst of despair. And he can give you peace in the midst of suffering. That's what he can do. Nightbird found it. I have found it. Millions have found it. You can find it too in your life. You can trust Jesus Christ to make you into an authentic person, which you were created to be by Father God. He does this from the inside out, first in our spirit, then our souls, then in how we live our lives and the choices we make every day. This isn't about religion. This is about a relationship. This is about you connecting with the Lord Jesus Christ. Jesus said, I am the good guide. I am good shepherd. I'll lead you in the right way. It's not about following a religion or a church or a person or a preacher. This is about following God and finding that reality in Jesus Christ. You can learn more about him by reading about the Bible and going to a Bible-believing church and people who talk about Jesus before they talk about anything. And they're real about it and related to their own pain and suffering. You're not alone. We all get that. We're all in it with you too. We've got the same struggles. People who go to church had the same pain and suffering as other people. In Millerville Community Church, we're full of people who know what pain is, who know what suffering is, but they also know the Good Shepherd that guides them day by day. And boy, we need it every day to find new hope. How do I deal with this? How do I deal with this latest struggle that I've got in my life? How do I grasp and deal with all these things? And finally, there's this, number 4. This is not a fake religion, but an authentic relationship. Ask Jesus Christ to forgive your sins and to be real in your confession. And sins is you did what you knew you shouldn't have done. You know that it was wrong and you did it anyways. It's not wrong because someone said it was wrong. You knew in your heart that it was wrong and you did it anyways. And by doing that, you're suffering. And you might have done a lot more wrong than you thought. But hey, let's just be honest. When we mess up, let's just admit it. Let's don't justify it. Let's not just get people to rally to our side to strengthen our position. Let's just be honest. When we screw up, we screw up. When things are wrong, they're wrong. Let's not hide it. Let's be real. Let's be authentic. Let's admit it. There's no moving forward and problem solving or getting into a better life if we deny it. Let's just be real with God, confess it, and then when you've done that, wherever way and however that's done, let's just ask Jesus Christ. He's there with you right now to enter your heart and make you authentic to God's design. God created you for a purpose. And the life we're living apart from God, we'll never find it. We'll never find our real selves. But when we give our hearts to the Lord Jesus Christ, let him guide us, and we're honest and real with him, we ask for forgiveness and a fresh start, miracle of miracles, he will give it to you. And if you will do that, he's made you this promise. He said, I am with you. I am going to be with you. I'll never leave you. I will never forsake you. I am with you right now. And more, you know what? More than anything else, that's what we really need in our life, is God to be with us. That's what we're searching for, and that's authentic life that we want to experience in Jesus Christ. And then after that, it's about letting go of everything, of all the preconceptions and notions of yourself and your own self-esteem, and let God step in. And your self-esteem will move from you being unique to, I'm loved. I'm loved by God. He's always there. He'll never leave me nor forsake me. He will journey with me through all the suffering and the pain and the stuff I hate. He's going to take me through all of that. He's going to be my light in darkness. He's going to be my hope in the midst of despair. He's going to take me through. Let go, let God. Quit fighting and receive grace, because that's what we all need in our life. Be honest with God. Be authentic with him, and you will find authenticity, a truth and a way and a life that is greater than yourself in your life. This is not just anything. It is a real thing. It is better than all the pop psychology you could ever go to. Be authentic according to God's original plan for your life. Everything else is just a fake knockoff. It's not real. It's not true. It's not the right path. It's a diversion. You'll never find who you really were meant to be. But with God, you'll find it all. Be true to God and find real love in your life, a love from our Lord Jesus Christ that can absolutely change everything in your life. My friends, this is what it's all about, what we can experience in our life and know by the grace of God every day of our life. You can find what Nightbird found. You can find what millions have found, that in the midst of suffering there can be joy. And I'm not just speaking out of a vacuum. I've known my own struggles and fights in my life, and I've known the threat of cancer and all those things in my families and from more than one individual. I have seen the death of very good friends to leukemia and car accidents. Friends, we all know tragedies. But the difference between those who know tragedy and those who survive tragedies of this life is the hope that Nightbird knows, that I know, that millions have known. By a living, real faith where we find God on the bathroom floor. When we find him on the cross that answers our pain, he is going to be with us and take us through. If we have found it, you can find it too. And I hope you will reach out and ask God for that. You don't have to wait for church. You don't have to wait for anything else. You can do that right now, in this very moment. You call out to him. Be real with him. Wrestle with him. Just seek him until you find him. It's not just one prayer. It's every day. And then especially in the midst of the pain of your life and your struggles, invite him to be in. I hope you will. Well, I've hoped you've enjoyed this show. And again, it's been another fire hose show where I have thrown a lot at you. I encourage you to watch this show again. And if you found it meaningful, would you, in your reflective moments, when you're thinking about what's going through, leave a comment. Would you do that? Leave a comment below and let other people know that you have thought about it, you found this worthwhile, and share this with someone else. Because there may be this hope that they need too about an authentic life in Jesus Christ that they could discover for themselves. It could mean the difference of life and death in someone's life. Your ability to share this with someone else. I hope you will. And if you're in that midst of that pain and that suffering, I hope you'll replay this, watch it again. I bet God is trying to talk to you. I hope you'll listen to him. That you'll leave a comment. Let us know what God is saying to you and whether this has been meaningful to you. I can't tell you how important that is, leaving a comment below and sharing that with other people. It could be, I literally mean that, it could be the difference between life and death in other people's lives. I hope you'll do that, and that you'll part of a regular subscriber to MCC Briefing, where we bring a Christian worldview to real issues in our lives and our culture. And you don't have to be a millennial to know that. You can just be anyone at any age. We are all dealing with this at every time in our life. I hope that this has been helpful to you. I've really enjoyed being with you today. And I'm Pastor John from Millerville Community Church. We're just outside of Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Not more than 20 minutes down the road, down 22X on your way to Bragg Creek. Turn at the Millerville turn, coming down Cowboy Trail. In 22 minutes, you're here. It's a beautiful debriefing ride. If you want therapy, just drive down towards those mountains, and you'll be here with us in no time. Come out to God's country, meet God's people at MCC. We're real, we're authentic, we're real people just like you. And we want to share with you God's word like we're doing right now and encourage you, build you up, and give you hope and a future. And to deal with the pain and the suffering, we'll love you right through it. We do this every day with people around us that are going through that and encouraging them and finding God in the midst of their struggles. You too can find that and find your true self in Jesus Christ and find an authentic life that will give you everything that pop psychology promises and never delivers. You can find it right here at Millerville Community Church. Just make your way out to those mountains. Join us every Sunday. We've got Bible studies going on, as you heard in the announcements, that you can do online with us. And soon we'll be opening up home groups and studies together, and you can be a part of that as well. We've got, you want to check out our services and see what they're like, and our preaching and our sharing of our messages. Go to the YouTube channel, find it. They're all there, recorded. Ever since COVID-19, we've been doing live stream. We continue to do that. You can check us out every Sunday. Come and check us out at Millerville Community Church, not very far away. Warm and welcoming, real, authentic people who will love you and receive you just as you are and encourage you to find God in your life in the midst of the struggles that you're facing.
Come to God's country. Come to God's people. Come to God's Word. Welcome to Millerville Community Church. We're just a short drive away.